It's time now for today's Focus report. After 37 years of autocratic rule, a military takeover and mass protests eventually forced Robert Mugabe to step down as Zimbabwe's president on the 21st of November. Mugabe's demise began when he fired his then number 2, Emmerson Mnangagwa, in an attempt to get his wife Grace to succeed him. It backfired spectacularly, and Mnangagwa is now at the helm. But will the man known as the Crocodile be able to give Zimbabweans the political and economic change they crave? Caroline Dumay and Stephen Carstens report.
There was a new sense of excitement in Zimbabwe the last few days that has led from simmering anger to explosive joy.
Enough is enough. We want to go back to our works. We've got education. We've got everything.
Some even went back home to be part of this historical event, like Owen, who is a cook in South Africa. He made his way to Harare to support his friends. For protesters, getting rid of Robert Mugabe was not an ideological move. It was a question of survival. Owen has 3 children and has no other choice than being far from them. There are few jobs in Harare and life is expensive. The US dollar has become the currency commonly used and the bond notes printed by the government lose value every day.
If you don't have money, you rather stay home and you can starve there. But if you need money, like what I can tell you, right in my pocket now, if I can quickly show you something, just a second. Right, if you can look here, this is like $20, US dollar, and this is like $5. Our current money in Zimbabwe now, right now, the money which is in circulation. Right, now if you compare the two, if you want to buy this with this money, that means you should have like $35 of this money to buy this. Then that shows you. Whoever comes in power, we don't even care now, but we only need the change of government. But then we have our own currency, then that will be fine.
The economic situation is dramatic. No surprise then to see who got arrested first by the army. The ex-minister of finance, Ignatius Chombo, has been charged for several counts of corruption, guilty of stealing several $1 million over the years. How many officials are still detained? Nobody knows. Human rights activists are asking for more transparency from the security services and hope justice will prevail in the new dispensation. Justina Makoko, who has been detained and tortured by the old regime, is hoping for a new chapter.
I haven't seen it before again.
That's a sign of renewed hope for our country. I think this has been long awaited, and it opens the door for a new Zimbabwe that we have been waiting for.
Being Zimbabwean, I would really want to see my country shine in all aspects, and also aspects when we look at the respect for human rights. But I think if we have these kind of deficiencies, it kind of raises questions.
Questions are being raised regarding the new president, Emmerson Mnangagwa. Was it simply a change of hat, or does the leader intend to change the system? Zimbabweans say things look disturbingly similar. Look at these pictures dating 2015, when Emmerson Mnangagwa, Ignatius Chombo, and Robert Mugabe were running the show. Some say it's only a palace revolution that has happened in Harare, in line with the party's methods.
We discuss our problems in a peaceful way. Even quarrels must be handled in a manner that should lead to settlements.
Slowly but surely, negotiations went on between the president and the military. The people surely helped, but at no time was the opposition involved in the outcome. Historical leader Morgan Shangarai said the army's involvement was worrying.
It's a very dicey situation. The army was brought into the politics of this country in 2008, when I won that election. And I was denied the opportunity to run the country. Ever since, it's Mugabe and his colleagues who brought in the army in the politics of the country. So the role of the army must be one that is constitutionally defined.
Zimbabweans now want the military move to be legitimized through the ballot box. But the new regime will once more have to prove its good faith. In Harare, voters are registering. They have until mid-January to get their voters' cards. Activists are asking for voters' rolls to be complete and for voting conditions to be improved.
What kind of guarantees are there that Zimbabweans will be allowed to constantly express themselves without fear and favor?
A wind of change is blowing and Zimbabweans are enjoying every moment of it. Owen unfortunately had to go back to South Africa to resume his job.
If things come all right, definitely I'll come back. Because always I believe home is the best.
There could be over 5 million Zimbabweans outside of the country. With Robert Mugabe's departure, many are thinking of coming back.
Well, to discuss what's happening in Zimbabwe, I'm joined now by Virginie Roy, who's a Zimbabwe specialist and lecturer at Sciences Po Strasbourg. We saw really scenes of absolute joy on the streets of Harare when Mugabe did finally resign. But the man who's now taken his place was once his right-hand man. Is Mnangagwa the right man for Zimbabwe right now?
Well, it's a difficult question. Anyway, there's definitely a discrepancy between the hopes of the population and the man who's today president of Zimbabwe, who succeeded Mugabe. But it's not a surprise, really, because as the report said, it was a palace coup rather than a real change of regime. So the Mnangagwa was supported by the army. They negotiated with Mugabe on the succession after the coup, of course. And they got rid of Grace Mugabe, and just for things to go on as usual.
Now, Mnangagwa has been accused of orchestrating brutal suppression of political opponents during the elections in 2008. He was also, of course, the head of the Zimbabwean security services during the Gukurahundi massacres of the early 80s. Are most Zimbabweans willing to put his past aside, to overlook that?
I think, well, I don't know. Actually, it's not as if the population had much of a say in what happened, really. So the people, they were rather instrumented than really initiated or participated or were actors in what happened. There was this demonstration on Saturday with people taking to the street, but they were, well, this demonstration was framed by the army because it served their interests. It put pressure on Mugabe for him to resign. But so it was not spontaneous, really. And the opposition, well, they were not associated either. And Tsvangirai had to wait until the 11th hour to get an invitation to the inauguration. So this is well, definitely not the. Well, they did not really have a say in in the person who succeeded Mugabe. It's just the ZANU-PF, which actually, with the help of the military, which settled this succession question, which was pending, which had been pending since 2013, and even before, but 2013 was really a turning point.
Now, Zimbabwe's new president, Emmerson Mnangagwa, is now offering a 3-month amnesty for individuals and companies to surrender public funds that they may have illegally stashed up over recent years. How many people, how many companies are likely to take him up on that offer?
This really, I could not really say. I don't know. It's just what has to be reminded is that there was a predatory attitude from part of the ZANU-PF on the state of Mugabe, on the state of Zimbabwe, and so what is the who stole what is quite difficult to really assess, and how many companies are. I really would not know, but definitely it's a way of trying to reach these business interests and attract them back, to tell them not to panic. And
do you think it's something of a publicity stunt? Emmerson Mnangagwa trying to convince people that he wants a new clean era for Zimbabwean politics?
Clean era is a bit too much, but definitely he wants people to think, and this is what he's going to do, not least because he and ZANU-PF rulers have an interest in having the economic situation settled, and it's vital for the country, but it's also important for them, for their own individual interests. So on the economy, I'm not sure that that he's going to deliver, but he's definitely embarked upon trying to change things and reassure international investors. And he said, for example, that business interests would be more secure because the rule of law would be restored. For businesses, it's important to know that if they invest in Zimbabwe, then their property right will not be threatened, for example, that their company will not be nationalized. So these are a few signs that Mnangagwa sent to these business interests in order to attract foreign investors back into Zimbabwe.
Fascinating times in Zimbabwe. Virginie Rorin from Sciences Po Strasbourg, expert in Zimbabwean politics. Thank you very much indeed.